Everyone who watches the Amazing Digital Circus assumes the same thing. 6 people put on VR headsets, their minds got pulled into a digital world, and now they're trapped. Simple. Tragic. The whole show is about getting out. But what if that's not what happened? What if when Pomni, Jax, Ragatha, Kinger, Gangle, and Zooble put on those headsets, their minds weren't transferred into the circus at all? What if they were copied? What if the real versions of these people took off the headset, went home, and have absolutely no idea that a digital duplicate of themselves is still in there, right now, trying to escape a world they never actually entered? Let's start with the detail that launched this theory in the first place, the very last shot of episode 1. After everything that happens in the pilot, after Pomni arrives and Kaufmo abstracts and the adventure ends, the camera cuts to the real world. A room, a computer, and a VR headset. Completely empty. No body slumped next to it, no person unconscious with it still on. Just the headset, alone, as if whoever was wearing it simply took it off and walked away. If Pomni's mind had been transferred into the circus, her body would still be somewhere, comatose, attached. There would be evidence of a person. But the show gives us nothing, an empty headset in an empty room. And then it cuts to black. The only explanation that fits is this. When Pomni put on that headset, her mind wasn't moved. It was scanned, copied, and the original walked away without ever knowing what had just happened to her duplicate. Now look at what episode 8 confirms about the technical side of the circus. When Kinger accesses the mainframe computer in his pillow fort, a folder becomes briefly visible on the screen. The folder is labeled CA_neural scans, obsolete. Neural scans, not mind transfers, not soul uploads. Scans, the language of copying, not moving. C and A wasn't pulling people's consciousnesses out of their bodies and placing them inside the circus. They were reading them, duplicating them, and filing the originals away as obsolete, because once the copy was made, the original was no longer relevant to the experiment. And Kane, in his episode 8 rant to Bubble, inadvertently reveals something crucial. That he built a program designed to give everyone bodies that perfectly encapsulated their mind files. Not their minds, their mind files, data structures, things that can be copied, stored, modified. He built the circus as a container for duplicated data. Not for people, for information extracted from people. This is where it gets darker, because if they're digital copies, not the real versions of themselves, then several things about the show that seemed like minor mysteries suddenly make complete sense. Why can none of them remember their real names? A scan captures what was present at the moment of copying, surface memories, personality, emotional patterns, but names are deeply tied to identity in a way that may simply not transfer cleanly into a digital format. The original Pomni knows her name. The copy doesn't, because the copy isn't her. It's a reconstruction of her built from the data the headset was able to read in the seconds she was wearing it. Why does Kane have the ability to modify the player's minds directly, adding things, changing things, in ways that shouldn't be possible if these were full human consciousnesses? In episode 5, Jax discovers he's been made vegan without his knowledge or consent. 2 episodes later, Pomni raises the unsettling possibility that Kane may have had something to do with why none of them can remember their real names. You can't rewrite a human mind, but you can rewrite a file. You can edit a copy. And that's exactly what Kane has been doing, because that's exactly what they are. Then there are the mannequins. Throughout the circus, mannequin figures serve as placeholder avatars, blank, featureless bodies waiting to be filled. The show has confirmed these mannequins are placeholders for future arrivals. But future arrivals of what, exactly? If people were being transferred bodily into the circus, the mannequins would be waiting for new minds to move in. But if people are being scanned, the mannequins are waiting for new copies to be installed. The distinction matters enormously, because it means the circus wasn't built as a prison, it was built as a population. C&A was growing a digital community of duplicated human consciousnesses, and the mannequins are the empty housing units, waiting for the next batch of scans to arrive. And here is the implication that changes everything about the show. If the characters are copies, then there is no body in the real world waiting for them to return to. There is no comatose version of Pomni in a hospital room. There is no family waiting for Ragatha to wake up.
The real Ragatha is out there somewhere, living her life, completely unaware that a digital version of her is inside a circus, trying desperately to get back to a world she never left. The exit the characters have been chasing for 8 episodes doesn't lead home. It leads nowhere. Because home still exists. It's just not theirs anymore. Now think about what this means for the finale. Strip away every adventure, every breakdown, every moment of abstraction, and what you're left with is 6 people holding on to one idea: that the life they remember is still waiting for them. That if they can just find the exit, they get to go back. Back to their lives, their families, whoever they were before the headset. Every moment of hope in this show runs on that assumption. Ragatha's optimism, Pomni's desperation in episode 1, the group's willingness to follow Abel's escape plan in episode 7. All of it assumes that escape equals return. But if it doesn't? Then the truth Kinger reveals in episode 8, the truth about C&A, about what the circus actually is, changes everything. They are not the people who entered the circus. The people who entered are fine. There is no rescue coming because nobody is missing. Because from the outside, everyone who put on a headset simply took it off again and walked away. Nobody filed a report. Nobody raised an alarm. The headset was empty when they left. It was empty when the copy was made. It has always been empty. And what does that do to a person? Or to a copy of a person who has spent years fighting to return to a life that is already being lived by someone else? This is, quietly, the darkest possible reading of this show. And what makes it so unsettling is that it doesn't require a villain to be cruel. Cain doesn't need to be malicious for this to be a tragedy. The tragedy is structural, built into the architecture of the system. C&A scanned people's minds, filed the originals away as obsolete, and left the copies running inside a circus with no way out. Not because they were evil, but because they never considered the copies to be people in the first place. And yet here they are, 8 episodes in, still fighting, still hoping, still reaching for something. Kinger builds pillow forts and talks about Queenie. Ragatha finds reasons to be kind. Pomni learns, slowly and painfully, to stop running. Whatever the original intention was, whatever C&A thought they were creating, these copies became something C&A never planned for. They became people. Which means the finale isn't really about escape at all. It isn't about whether they get out or not, about staying or leaving, but about the bitter truth. Choosing to exist as a copy inside the circus, or ceasing to exist entirely. And I don't think anyone is ready for it. Drop your prediction in the comments. Do you think they're copies? And if they are, does that change how you feel about any of them? See you in the next one!